In the metals quadrant, all metals, precious and base, responding to the problems with the U.S.-China deal. Copper falls over 2% on the lows. That is actually the second session of lower prices for copper here in the NYMEX futures at the CME group. It doesn't look that way if you looked at the headlines yesterday, but when you looked at the extended session that the futures offer you, you were actually down 0.5 cent on copper yesterday with that late day sell-off, and then today's move down, which ended up being less than 2% but was down over 2% on the lows, actually makes it 2 consecutive sessions of lower prices for copper. As I mentioned, the U.S.-China deal is in question following conflicting reports out of the U.S. and virtually no reports out of China. We had Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin saying that the agreement began in December, as of December 1. Larry Kudlow saying it began as of January 1st. He's the chief economic advisor to the White House. And then what the deal actually entailed kind of contradicted the president, and the president actually tweeted out that he was a tariff guy. So it really seemed like they were almost undermining what was said over the weekend from the U.S. administration, and China has been notably silent on what that particular verbal agreement contains. Now, that's not actually that unusual. It is a sort of a media-controlled government, and the president is not back in China as of this morning anyway, so they wouldn't necessarily, without being brief, comment on it. But President Xi Jinping spokespeople have not commented either, so there's questions now as to what is going on. Again, both Steve Mnuchin and Larry Kudlow were positive on the effects of the deal, but their details were different, so it seems like the deal is at least somewhat in question. It's pushing equities lower. It's funny, when you go to basic material stocks, the mining sector was one of the better performing ones, but still down over 1.1%. Copper, I mentioned, down about 1.75% overall. And then this afternoon, or I should say this evening, we've got Chinese data. We've got the Caixin Composite and Services PMI data. Now, last week, we had the ISM manufacturing data for China, and that came out at 50. And the Caixin Index works the same way as the ISM, where 50 is sort of the fulcrum. Above 50 is a growing situation, and below 50 is a contracting situation. That 50 on the ISM spooked the markets a little bit. Caixin tonight might matter, while composite includes manufacturing. The services won't matter as much. But if the composite number falls below 50 or is at 50, could pressure China a little bit more in terms of their economy, and then pressure copper's prices in the overnight futures markets.